In order to be part of that digital economy, what is required to be needed to be changed in the banking system that will make our path to the digital economy on a very fast track pace?
Yes, thank you very much, Saqib. I'll take you a little bit back in time, just for everyone to understand how banking has evolved and what the future looks like. So I have been in digital transformations for many years, almost 28 years. And one thing which is good about digital transformation is that it keeps going on. I mean, everybody is always transforming. It depends on how differently you are transforming. But in every decade, there has been different aspects of transformation which have taken place. So if we look at banking, banking in the last 10 years, has had great strides in terms of digitization. I think the banks which were looking towards enabling their different channels, we were always looking at traditional banks where branch banking was one of the most done thing, and there was digitization going on in branches. But in the last 10 years, what we have seen is that there has been a huge acceleration in terms of moving from branches to the channels for every bank. And if you look at, there are about 64% of the banks globally who are at some stage of digital transformation in their journeys. And all of these banks, who are working on their different transformations, will know that there is a stage which is right now for them. There's a fork that they have to decide whether they should focus on digital transformation for the back end, like Saqib has mentioned, that should they look at the railroad and the platform, or should they look at the customer primacy? Because as you have seen that many of the platform companies have now taken over the ownership of the customer, and banks are really becoming more of the back-end companies where they need to provide financial services. So what I see for the next 10 years is that there will be very few banks, and I would say that only big banks which will be in both the spaces where they are performing, where they are providing the platform and the rails, and they are doing the engagement and the primacy with the customer. But other banks will mainly become the platform and the rails because there are so many enterprises, so many small and medium businesses and consumers who actually need just, the financial payments and all of the different user journeys to be embedded as part of what they are doing. And I think you can see examples very well of recent example of the buy now, pay later use case, which has really taken off, both from, in the payments industry where PayPal introduced this concept of buy now, pay later, and now with Apple Pay and Goldman Sachs. So Goldman Sachs is providing the platform and the rails, and Apple Pay basically owns the customer, which is being able to provide that particular service.
We are talking about robust technologies. We are talking about customer experience. As a user of this technology and providing that to the people of Pakistan, what are the important collaborations that are required in this IT industry to take the digital economy to the next level? One thing is creating themselves. One thing is we collaborate with each other to make that end result that the digital economy and the people are looking for. So what collaborations will help overall the industry in this regard?
Sure. I think one is it starts from a change in mindset that it's not a time to fight for the pie, but it's actually a time to grow the pie. And when you look at, for example, in this last year, we've attracted significant capital in the startups in Pakistan. What we have not seen as much as is strategic joint ventures that also allow the companies that have raised money get the strategic element in it as well. So the collaboration that's also required is for the large corporations. I would love a world in which in 2 years the 22 names you have up there are different 22 names of companies that none of us have potentially ever heard of. And in order to do that, and for those that want to prevent that disruption, they need to sort of start looking at the companies that are emerging, that are disrupting, and not looking at them sort of in the peripheral, but actually looking at them actively and getting involved from not only the financial side, but a strategic element as well. You know, when we look at, for example, the agri-tech space, you have a lot of companies that are raising money and that are doing great work in the agri-tech space, but it's also equally important for the large companies to get involved and facilitate that growth and be. That's on the, you know, on the side of actually being able to take the more traditional corporations to collaborate with startups. And then within startups, there's naturally, you know, and we talked about this, is because we touch every part of the supply chain, we naturally have to be working with other players to be able to grow. And our mindset is that the more players that can work together, the faster we can grow. And so I think those two elements would sort of help the, you know, the growth in the industry.